May 21st, 2021. It's 5:17 a.m. Going to make my context read overall. Try to make this real quick. So we are right now trading inside range, inside value from yesterday, approaching yesterday's VPOC, and as well as Wednesdays as well. So we're trading in value for the previous 2 days. And looking on the daily here, we can see we're kind of stuck, and I talked about this before, right in this low volume node here, which is a fairly significant price flip area. So expectation is that we either are going to hold this and move lower to come and test down into these lows here, or get back into value. It's really either or at this point. Don't really have a bias either way at this point. 15-minute, you can see we've formed this demand zone here off of these lows after this low tick. So that somewhat supports higher prices here, but we're also approaching the VPOC from yesterday, that we have this supply zone here, and then above here we also have more supply, untested supply here. So I would expect us to test this yesterday's point of control and flush liquidity above. We would see liquidity flushed above here, and then possibly more selling into here. But if we can get above that, I would expect us to test yesterday's high and Wednesday's value area high, and then possibly up into this area. All of this is fairly weak as well, so we could see prices up into Tuesday's point of control naked VPOC of 65.83. And here on our 1 minute time frame, we are approaching, we're in this small little value area for about the last hour, and we're getting close to the overnight high at the 63 round number. So if we can hold this value area, I would expect this overnight high to be taken out, and then that yesterday's point of control that I mentioned, yesterday's value area high, and then we're fairly close to yesterday's high. So all of those are likely upside targets. Downside targets in the short term are really this point of control trade, but then we have a lot of trouble in the way. We have trouble here, untested, trouble here. So all of these are potential. If we can get some large volume coming in, we have seen some higher volume coming in here right around 5 here, and a little bit more coming in here. So I'll be watching to see how do we handle this balance area here. Are we going to come down and move into previous balance here, and then we have a much larger balance area, as you can see, with kind of this whole area is balance, and then two smaller high volume areas into here. And this balance area is definitely an area of interest that I'm watching for a possible setup, and we can see this directly coincides with, there's confluence with yesterday's, this low volume node here. So this is definitely has shown to be an unfair price. I'm really trying to be mindful and paying attention to my patience, and that means not jumping into trades. And I definitely had some days this week where I was in the 10 plus trades area, and I know that that's not good. I know that's not the way for me. And Kelly mentioned something that really stuck with me, that 20 ticks a day equals 480K. So I've been saying that over and over and over, kind of just trying to keep that in my mind, that at a 10 lot, 20 ticks a day on a 10 lot, 240 trading days a year is about $500,000. So imagine, it's really not that difficult to make that a reality. And if people could just, people being myself included, imagine, that's life-changing money. and not even outrageous. It's not an outrageous goal. It's very, very modest and attainable. I'm going to give this long trade a try, and since my entry, we have come up, unfortunately, and we will see, but I don't know if I'm going to get the pullback here, but I like this area. I like this area for coming into this demand zone here to the left. All this weakness above and the overnight high at 63, the round number there, likely to be broken, and the confluence of the value area of epoch from yesterday. So that has been tested already. So we also have the potential for liquidity flush, and all of this supply has been tested up into the 63.26. So all of this really is good for potential movement to the upside. I like it. So I was just filled on this spike down and on higher volume here. So we will see what happens. It's stuck below a little bit. We can see that on this small composite anyway, that the point of control of this little move has shifted above me. So we'll see. So being mindful that I have no idea what's going to happen. I have just trying to let the probabilities play out of what I'm seeing, and I have also taken a reduced stop here just because this increase in volume here, and I wouldn't want to see lows tested below and a low tick of this area. It's managing pretty tight, so I have 4 ticks of risk, so I've already reduced my risk from 10 down to 4, and we will see if it can hold. I need a little pop above this volume and to flush these highs, and I will be loving this trade at that point. And again, I have no idea if this is going to work out. We are kind of coiling up into this balance area. We have this high, we're right at this high volume node here, but with the low tick of this idea, my expectation is that we are going to now test the upper side of this balance, and boom, that's what I love to see right there. That's just beautiful. So probably won't de-risk into this high tick. I mean, I probably could, but I wouldn't be surprised to see us come back down and revisit this 81 area. But a flush above this bar high here definitely will be a de-risk point, but these tops are looking super weak to me. And with my new kind of that concept of 80 ticks a day, I'm not going to allow 20 tick trades to come back to break even. I know it's easier said than done to manage the risk tightly, because at times I also may be taking off, not giving my potential big trades enough room to run. But yesterday, for example, that trade that went 20 in my favor and then came back to take me out at break even, there was some valid structure. For example, an imbalance push up, and then where we didn't hold these tops, I could have locked in around 10. So already being up 25 on the day, that would have put me with the 10. It would have put me at 35. So those are things to keep in mind. I did decide to cover my risk here. I didn't really like how we pushed above these highs, and we're coming back down. So I will be looking for a potential re-entry. And yeah, maybe it's always such a fine line of, is that managing risk too high? But we can see also now we are moving down below the point of control and below this large volume area here. So we'll see how it handles this area, and can always get back in. I did like my price on where I was at, but there's always the potential of just getting stuck in this choppy balance here, and revisiting the lower area of this composite. But well, there we go. So now I'm not going to be able to participate in this move, or unlikely anyway. and we came down to test the lower side of this volume at 72. So at the most I would have been taking about 4 ticks of risk, 4 ticks of heat in this trade anyway, and never to come down below my low tick failure here. So it's unfortunate. And now we're coming up to test this supply here, and likely to hold this area now and move higher. And there's my 30 tick target minimum of visiting yesterday's VPOC at 6306. So that's real unfortunate, and it's very frustrating to see that happen minutes after you get taken out. I was taken out on on this little minor retrace, and not willing to keep on my initial 10 ticks of risk. Cost me 30, but it's still a process of being gun shy about my expectation of a very low win rate, so trying to get risk off quickly. But here's another example of taking a break even, and with a minimum of 3R on the trade, risk reward. But it's alright. There will be another trade, another opportunity here shortly. We'll see if we're going to get this final move up to that area I mentioned earlier, this low volume area, and the origin of this supply zone at 40. That would have been my ultimate target. Looking to push into that area at 40. Going to talk a little bit about how I would manage this trade if I was still in it. These bar highs here with this increase in volume, so it would be reasonable to put my stop at 63. That's almost 20 ticks of drawdown, but would be up still 25 on the trade for the potential of getting to 20 more to the 40. So it's a decent risk reward, and would be looking to manage it pretty tightly here. Would expect that this area needs to hold, and that coincides with this bar high here. But again, wouldn't be surprised to see the overnight high retested again here, which is actually no longer the overnight high, but the old overnight high. And the risk of that trade is really to come back all the way back down into balance and revisit the 62.91. So if you were in from 76 like I was, you really wouldn't want to see that kind of draw down from, that's 30 ticks, and that doesn't make any sense. Important now here too is to shake off that previous trade, because that does annoy me, and it irritates me a lot. So to not get stuck in a mind space of focusing on that trade and not able to see the new opportunities that come to the market is what's going to kill the rest of my day, and I know that. So I need to realize that trade is over, and there will be more opportunities in the day here, and I will get the next one. I still do like this long trade. We can see this zoomed way out on this 1 minute chart, but from the highs yesterday was also the initial balance high at 63.26, but above that we have all this space. So yes, this is all untested supply, but also very thinly traded. So a run to the 63.46 or these bar lows at 44 are definitely a possibility if we can move above this area here. And another thing that I'm always trying to think about is where is the liquidity for longer time frame sellers. So if you wanted to be a seller in this market and we're trying to accumulate large positions, where would you do that? Well, you wouldn't do it right here unless there were a lot of buyers. This possibility that there are buyers here anticipating a break higher. But if you're a large time frame seller, and you're looking to accumulate a short, it would be all above in here. Why? Because there's resting orders above all of these highs here. There's stops above here, and there's likely to be more buyers, momentum trade buyers that are going to be looking for the breaks of these highs as well. So if you're looking to sell all that buying, you can accumulate a large position here to move lower. And I mean, you don't really have to have that. I think that, is there any purpose to knowing that story? Well, yeah, because that's an absolute. If you're a large buyer or a large seller that needs to fill size, to understand the concept of where is that business done is pretty important, because that helps you understand why these moves happen. You know, if you're looking to sell these tops here, or you want to sell here, well, if there's large participants in the market here, you're going to be on the wrong side of the market here, and it can be from 26 to 50 or even higher, you know. And if you're looking to sell just on a break at these tops, well, you're going to be in for some pain, and me as well. You see a little high tick here, well, all the momentum traders are going to pile in thinking that, well, now the break has happened and we're good to move in. So on a push above, all of that liquidity is soaked up. All of these buyers, or all of these previous sellers that are above here, all of those stops, all these seller stops are going to be above here as well. So, or I'm sorry, I mean, anybody that bought here anticipating the breakout, their stops are going to be above here. So what happens as we push into here, at some point the threshold of pain is going to be too high, people can't take it anymore, and then that's going to fuel even more upside. So buy stops, or short stops, I mean. And the question of who's in trouble here, who is going to be in big trouble. And in this case, it's going to be, where are the traders potentially trapped? Well, all the people that bought here anticipating that break are in trouble. All the people that bought here, bought these highs thinking that we were going to break the highs, going to break these previous day's highs. And then there's also the guys that think, oh, well, this is resistance because we've been up here 4 times, so this is a strong ceiling. This is strong resistance for a downside move. Well, that's the kind of thinking and mentality that people are going to, the larger traders and the institutions can prey upon, is thinking, oh, well, you think this is resistance, and then smash 1,000 contracts at market to flush this liquidity. And then all of a sudden you're able to accumulate a large short position up here in this space. So in the short term, we've formed this small balance here, and this is also unfair price on this imbalance move up, supporting this value area below. So being that we do have all of this space above and below, it's a little hard to jump on the longs or the shorts here. The long's a little dangerous because we have all of this space below that price could definitely retrace back into here. And the shorts, it's a little perilous because we are sitting on top of this previous structure here. So, and then above for the long as well, this is all untested. This is untested supply, which isn't the worst thing because there is a lot of liquidity from today. This is not a strong high. And then also we have these kind of weak highs from yesterday as well, sitting at this same area. This is not strong. This is not a unfair price by any means. This is a lot of two-way trade in here. So I'm not doing anything. I'm going to be watching and seeing who's in trouble here, who's potentially stuck on one side or the other. So obviously all of these shorts in here that have sold these highs are potentially trapped especially if we flush lower here. more shorts will come in thinking that the short is on and to flush here into this liquidity. So there'll be a lot of pain for the shorts there. And where the longs in trouble? Well, anybody that is buying here, here, and here, all of these longs are potentially in trouble once we break through these lows. And then on the long side, more longs will pile in here as we approach these highs again, thinking, and the momentum traders are looking for this to break. Long traders will be potentially trapped here, and when all this liquidity is flushed, and then for there that will go up, and then for the slam down. So all that, I'm kind of anticipating both of those scenarios to play out, or set up anyway, and find out what's tradable. If I get some kind of strong flush of these lows, even though we have this space here, it's potential that I would take a long if I can get something aggressive in here for these weak highs to be taken out, to fill in that space up into that 40 area, or even a run into that 50 round number. So we've broken down below this zone here, so there's really nothing for me to do here. We're stuck between these two ranges here. So kind of a no man zone here. Call it a no man's land zone, NMLZ, or something like that. So to get long again, I really want to see, we're going to have to be above this structure, and this has been tested up to here. We had a little bit of trouble up here. To the downside though, we need to really reject this, so some kind of test up into here and then a push back down into here. But then we have trouble here from where this demand broke from, the origin of this demand zone. So there's a lot of trouble for the shorts as well. If we can get down into here, then I'd be looking for a move back down into the 62.50 area. But now we can see that all of this space has been filled in, and so this was the trouble for any long trades up here. So if you take on risk here, it meets an expectation that we will be likely to come down and fill this space in and come back to this origin of this demand zone. And that's exactly what we've done. We've filled in all of that space there. So could we have jumped on the short train here anywhere? I mean, you could say on the high tick of these highs here, maybe in here, but a real aggressive short to come down and fill in that space. But it's also supported by the area of being in this supply here. But all of this has already been tested, so it's not fresh supply. So again, this is the issue with kind of the no man's land here. Return to the origin of demand, also into trouble here, so shorts are off the table. If you did happen to get a long in here, where are you trading it to? Directly into trouble here, directly into more trouble here. Maybe we imbalance and get back into here, but that needs to happen first, and then imbalance here, come back, hold the lower edge of the range, which is also a low volume node here. Why? Because this is unfair price. Bar highs here, bar lows here, bar lows here. Imbalance push through, and now we're dealing with this again in this low volume area. So nothing to do here. So I've been waiting so patiently and finally got a short on here. We came up and made this big high volume high a day. Kind of came down into this demand here, and now we're kind of at a make or break. We had this low volume node and a push up, and it looked like it was going to be kind of a low tick here and a push back up, but with the volume above, I really liked the context for the shorts. So we'll see. I'm kind of in a little bit of a tough spot if we don't break down here, but it's nice we have a lot of these lows here. So a lot of liquidity here, and we'll be targeting this low volume area and around the 26, but I'll manage it to take off probably. If I can grab 20, that would be nice. so much potential to the downside to flush these lows. I really like it. 26 is an easy target on this trade, in my opinion, if we can get a little move. And I'm really committing again to not messing with my trades. It was hard for me to keep this stop above 59, and we had this push up, and it looked like for a minute that I was just going to get taken out of this pretty quickly, but it didn't happen, so it held. So I want this push here, and a flush here. I will get my risk off, because these are fairly significant areas that if price gets back down, if it pushes below these lows and can't hold that, there's no reason at that point to still have any risk on the trade. And that wasn't a very good reaction there, but this could be that kind of like that last little false breakout, but we will see. This is make or break on this trade, but we see that all the time, that real quick flush up, and that would be a decent area to take some risk off on this trade, to reduce my stop down to 50, 55, and I don't really feel like that's trying not to lose. But if we get back above that area again, there's no reason for me to be in this trade anymore. So with a flush like that, I am going to do that, and that's new information coming into the market here. So now we need these lows to go here, and it looks like this is setting up to play out to my expectations, and we'll see what happens. And I just got taken out for a 6-tick loss, so that's how it goes. That didn't respond well at all. We just sat here without the ability to break these lows. So I'll give it another shot, but at this point, it's not looking good. So that was just real weird price action there for a minute. So it seems we had to go up and take out this high one more time, flush this liquidity, and it really wasn't on much of an increase in volume compared to the previous high that was put in. So now the issue with this is we have all this weak structure below. All of this could go. I would, even down to like the 63.12 here to this previous demand. So now I'm just watching this for some kind of setup up into here and a push above these highs. The problem is that a lot of times it just doesn't come. But I'm going to be patient, but we definitely have a lot of longs trapped in this balance area here. So to have any kind of buyer step in here at the lows is possible of the low side of this area, but then that also gives them an opportunity to sell and get out for a reduced loss or break even, which, when they're trying to really squeeze them, that's not too likely to happen. So, but I'm just going to be patient and try to get a setup here if something comes about, but definitely don't want to sell these lows here. It's tempting to do, but I'm going to try not to do that. So I would like to see some kind of failure come up here in this, and then a trigger to get short. So we got this push up now. So an issue with this getting short anywhere in here is that there's still no structure to put a stop, and also now we have this trouble that we'd be trading right back into. The structure below is super weak. Something interesting on the delta as well as look at how net short it is. So we've just been pushing up and making new highs, and delta continues to drop. So more and more net short positions in the market. After all that talk about weak lows, and it's just something is going on, that the delta is so net short, and then now we have this imbalance above, and so I decided to take a long to break these highs and to try to target into that 90 number. If I can get the 20 on the flush above these highs, I think, getting a little later into Friday, I think that might not be a bad idea. And we definitely have this low volume area into the 91, so if we can get through this, there's some real big 240 contracts sitting on the offer at the dome at 63.80. So if we can, we'll see how that trades, and if I can get a push into 90, that would be really nice. I can get that 30 tick win. But I'm not going to push my luck into that 80. If we don't get a flush, a real strong flush through there, I'll be looking to take it off plus 20. This is a valid de-risk here at this point, being above these bar highs here. So this high tick is definitely a concern at 75, but being that and this was a pretty unfair price, how price rejected this. So, but again, if the shorts were strong, we just shouldn't be back up here again, and that's what's so strange about this situation. So we should have held, we had all the structure down below, we had this low volume node, and when price came back down here, we really should have held this. So to me, that says that price is likely to go higher. So I've de-risked to +1, and now we're just gonna wait and watch and see. I want these bar highs should hold here. And it wouldn't be surprised if we get a pullback to this 66 at the volume, but my entry is at 61, so we should be good to hold that. So finally, seems like I'm on the right side of a trade here. Been so patient today, and how much I've talked about this short context, but now this is looking pretty good for a push higher. And again, targeting this low volume node, these bar highs here. So that's this 90, around the 90 area, even a little higher into 95, and could definitely see this high go up into the 64 round number, but not going to get too greedy on this one. So we're at just approaching, and some orders are being pulled, and the 250 have gone away. Now it's showing 180, 240, so there's definitely some spoofing going on here, but there's no reason to think that we're not going to get up there. And 137 contracts traded at 79, so that's quite a bit. So there's a lot trading up there. There's a lot of auction up there. So we've moved through the thinner part of the dome, which is around that 63.70 to 75 area. So I would expect this to go. We can see some pretty big volume coming in here at the highs. So that's a little bit concerning. But if we trade through that, it's going to be, we should see a nice flush, and still a lot of volume sitting there. There it goes. There she goes. Let's see what happens now. If it can keep going and run to that 90 number, or I'll be looking to manage. I really want that 20 at least here. But lots of volume being put in up there at the highs. So not sure if we're going to get it. I'm going to lock in 15 here, I guess, and see if we can hold this area, but we do have this chunky volume sitting above now. So not looking good. I expect to get taken out here. Oh man, got lucky, held by a tick, but I don't expect it to survive. Really got to get lucky here, but there was a lot of absorption coming in here at the highs. So, and that's it. I'm out for 14. So just couldn't get it done, and a lot of volume coming in here up at the highs. Really wouldn't be surprised if this area held, but I'm happy to lock in something here. I mean, because we could come all the way back down to 69 here, and wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. But would have been nice to see the flush to 90, but I could have locked in 20, but it rejected that 84 pretty quickly. So I'm probably going to call it a day. It seems volume is definitely getting lighter, and that's going to probably do it for me. I'm short after this new high that was put in where I was taking the long. We have a little bit of structure here that I need to get through, so this is aggressive. I'm expecting a push here, and then we will have trouble above me supporting this trade. But everything has been tested all the way down to really the 52. This is our first fresh demand level, but then below that we have all of this weak structure. I'm expecting that to go. If it can go, I don't know. But I am going to manage this and let the trade play out, and I have my stop above these highs here. I don't want price above that. Obviously, I don't need to take it all the way up to the highs. I'm wrong well before that. So, and we had this big accumulation, this compression here. So hopefully this can hold. We'll see. It's not looking like it's real strong yet, but we've pushed this, we've low ticked this here, and I was hoping to see a little stronger reaction there than we're seeing now. But this is the risk on being a little early on this trade, because when we push down here, we are holding this, and that would be my expectation. So it's questionable at this point. This needs to hold and break down for this trade to have any hope. And I'm out for a loss. So not a good trade. Pushing down into this area, exactly what would be my expectation to hold. I was hoping to see off this compression here an imbalance down. So instead of waiting for confirmation from the market, I bought the very area that I would expect, or I sold the very area that I would expect to hold here, which makes no sense. So that pretty much is a garbage trade. Well, this video is super long, 36 minutes already. I apologize in advance, and I think this is going to be more of a journal that nobody's going to watch anyway. So I don't really care. I need it for documentation and historical reference purposes for my own sanity and understanding where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to do. So I have been trying to get short for a long time, and it really hasn't played out. And this thing set up pretty nicely, I think, for me. Highest volume of the day, pushing up into the 64 round number, and kind of bounced around, based around here, and then had this imbalance push lower and the spike up, and then my trigger was after the push down and then to hold this area. Somewhat questionable because we are coming from this demand area here and also sitting above all of this structure here. But I like the context because we have all of these weak lows and all of this structure that I've been talking about. Are we going to get down through all of this? I don't know. Later, around lunchtime on Friday, hard to say. I think it has a chance though, and we haven't really had any kind of real pullbacks or bullish movement or a bearish movement yet. So it doesn't mean that that's going to, but we still have this crazy short positioning, 6,300 contracts, even through all the bullish moves up. Not saying that really means anything, but it really is interesting to see what's happened with, look at this new highs the entire day, the entire session, and the positioning of the delta has continued to go short. So I like it. Let's give it a shot. I'm not moving my stop. This is going to work or it's not. And I think we have a good chance of seeing a breakdown. And I like my price, and we'll see what happens. So risk is off here. Well, actually now it is. But we have this little bit of this area here, and we're seeing this small slight demand area and a low tick here. But again, I'm going to hold through this because it's fairly minor, and we have the potential to really go down much farther. This demand area is the next logical target at 52, but even below that, all of these lows here are weak as well. And that's asking for way too much, probably late on the day. But if I can get this 52 area, that would be 34 ticks, and that would be phenomenal. We're coming back up to test the underside of this area, which is exactly what I would expect. And volume is not changed. We are not seeing any volume of any kind come in here. So we do have this volume here. So I would expect this to hold from the underside. This is also what got me into this trade, is this compression here. We had this large volume coming in on this press back in, and when we held value from the underside. So this is we've come down to 71, so that's 16 ticks. So, but again, I think that there's so much potential in the context for the shorts here. We have
a lot of room to go on the downside, so I'm going to hold this thing.
So I forgot to hit the record button again, but we got this flush down. So this was kind of the area where it was just sitting there, and it was either going to go or it was going to come back up, and I was going to get taken out break even, and then we got the flush down and really nice. I didn't leave my stop at 52. I had an idea that we might rip through and then take out all of this liquidity. So, but would have been a good idea to just leave it where I had it at that would have been 34 at 52. I managed it manually, and when we came down here and exactly to the tick where we came is to 52, put in this large volume here. So didn't really like that. That's where we had that previous demand, and I closed it at 56 when we couldn't flush through here. So took a full plus 30 on that, and that's definitely going to call it quits for me for the day.